Tonight, the Ford government unveils its plan to ease the strain on Ontario's healthcare system by allowing procedures in private clinics.
More surgeries, shorter wait times, all paid for by OHIP.
This is going to pull more and more resources out of our healthcare system, out of our public hospitals.
The Premier saying the move is necessary to clear the surgery backlog, but critics are concerned, saying the plan would only benefit owners of private clinics without improving patient care. Plus,
he is symbolic of the experiences endured by many young black males in North America.
the family of a U of T student is suing the Toronto Police Service, alleging he was unlawfully and violently detained by 3 officers in a case of mistaken identity. And
moments later, you see something being lit and thrown into the vehicles, one after another.
Police are searching for 2 suspects wanted for arson after trucks belonging to a Scarborough Tree Services company were set on fire. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Changes are coming to healthcare in Ontario. The Ford government is allowing more surgeries and medical procedures in private clinics, unveiling a 3-step plan today that it says will help clear the surgery backlog. But as Lorenda Redicott reports, critics say the move will privatize healthcare and drain the public hospital system.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Premier Doug Ford says the plan is about cutting months-long waits for surgeries.
More surgeries, shorter wait times, all paid for by OHIP.
People who need a cataracts procedure can have a total wait of more than 8 months. Step 1 of this plan, moving more of those simple surgeries out of hospitals and into private clinics, both for-profit and not-for-profit. An extra 14,000 surgeries a year. The Premier repeatedly said it won't cost patients extra.
They'll never use their credit card. They'll always use their OHIP card.
Step 2 of the plan, more scans in clinics, including MRIs, CT scans, and colonoscopies. Step 3, hip and knee replacements in private clinics to start next year. The move requires a legislative change to be introduced next month, expected to pass with the government majority. The Premier believes up to half of all surgeries could be done out of hospital.
We want to make sure that we take care of the people that have, life-threatening surgeries that need to get in there, life and death.
The NDP says this all fits the government's agenda.
We know Ford has been scheming for years to privatize our healthcare system. His government has been following the privatization playbook to a T.
Critics worry about upselling cataract patients shelling out for a better lens, not covered by insurance, especially at a private clinic. The health minister didn't directly address that, but said people can ask for an investigation if they're not offered the OHIP version. The Liberal health critic wonders about safety and worries about the impact on hospitals.
What we heard today has the potential to create a massive gold rush of for-profit healthcare that will drain the public healthcare system.
One emergency room doctor says the issue for hospitals isn't a lack of space, but staff, and feels there is a way for more procedures in hospital.
A lot of hospital ORs are sitting idle the vast majority of the day. Like most ORs close down around 3 or 4 in the afternoon because they can't continue to staff the nursing.
Healthcare unions also don't like the plan, but the Ontario Medical Association and hospital CEOs are among those in favor. They say this can reduce the surgery backlog and free up operating room space in hospitals. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
The family of a University of Toronto student who was allegedly beaten and tasered by 3 police officers is now suing the Toronto Police Service. The incident happened in August 2021 when, according to court documents, Hassani Ogilvy was mistaken for a suspect in a crime. Ali Chiasson has more.
I am determined to ensure that if the experiences endured by my son spares one other young man of color from being treated as such, then all of this would have been worthwhile.
Christine Ogilvy speaks on behalf of her son, Hassani, who was allegedly beaten and tasered by Toronto police a year and a half ago. He was mistaken for a wanted man.
He is symbolic of the experiences endured by many young black males in North America.
His mother says the then 27-year-old Hassani was on his way to U of T to write his final exams. He was about to take the bus downtown from Jane and Wilson when he noticed a police cruiser following him. According to the claims, the cruiser followed him into a laneway when he was apprehended.
To imagine how haunting it must be to find yourself face down on the ground, piled on by 3 officers, while complying and pleading you've done nothing wrong, as they hold you down by your neck and stun you with a taser repeatedly.
3 officers are still employed while the incident is under review by the Independent Police Review Director, with a hearing slated for February 2024. The Ogilvies are suing the Toronto Police for nearly $3 million.
As their only option remaining available, we are proceeding aggressively with this lawsuit to cover not only the cost of care and lost opportunity resulting from these injuries and trauma, but claims for human rights, misfeasance of public office, aggravated and punitive damages. The horrific ordeal was caught on body camera footage, which I have seen, but is being buried by the Toronto Police Service. We suspect, because of the huge public outcry, it will elicit.
The Toronto Police say they will not release the body cam footage because it relates to a proceeding before the police tribunal. The Toronto Police Association president sends us this in response to the family's claims. In many cases, enforcement actions are met with resistance. Not everyone wants to be arrested. Our members are subject to more levels of oversight than any other profession. As these members face charges under the Police Services Act, the association will ensure they are treated fairly throughout this process.
I want them to be held accountable. I just think it's so wrong that after 17 months, no accountability.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Police are searching for 3 suspects who fled the area of Don Mills and Overley Boulevard after a shooting this afternoon.
Officers eventually located a crime scene in E.T. Seton Park with evidence of gunfire in one of the parking lots down in the park. Officers also located at that time an 18-year-old male suffering from 2 gunshot wounds to each of his upper thigh area of his legs. He was subsequently transported to a local hospital in stable condition.
It happened just before 1 p.m. Police say a group of about 10 people met in the park just before the shooting. 3 schools in the area, including Mark Garneau Collegiate Institute, were put in a hold and secure, which was lifted a few hours later. It's not clear if any of the suspects or the victim attended one of those schools. Witnesses say the suspects fled westbound through the park. The Ontario Public Service Employees Union is taking some of its former leadership to court, including Warren Smokey Thomas. OPSEU is alleging Thomas, along with 2 others, abused their power and authority, misusing millions in union funds. Del Manukduk has more on the lawsuit.
After being elected president of OPSEU last spring, J.P. Hornick set forth a forensic audit of the union's finances. Today, in a letter, she informed the 180,000 members that they are suing the former leadership.
Mrs. Hornick ran on a campaign of accountability and transparency.
Emil is an OPSEU member agreeing to speaking to us on a first-name-only basis over concerns of reprisal. He says overall morale at OPSEU has been low over the last few years, and he isn't shocked about the allegations. The union allegedly discovered millions of misappropriated funds at the behest of 3 individuals, including Maurice Gabay, the accountant for the union from 2008 to 2015, then promoted to administrator of Financial Services Division before that role was terminated last year. Eduardo Almeida, who was first vice president and treasurer for 5 terms over 11 years, and former president Warren Smokey Thomas, who served in that capacity for 15 years.
Smokey Thomas was a controversial figure inside the labor movement because he had such a close relationship with Premier Doug Ford, and you don't see many union leaders sharing close political relationships with conservatives.
Thomas announced he was stepping down in 2021. CBC News has been unable to reach him for comment. The union is seeking to recover $5.75 million in funds and assets unlawfully transferred. In a statement of claim filed to an Ontario Superior Court, it says that Thomas transferred multiple vehicles to family members. The union is also seeking damages in the amount of $6 million for breach of fiduciary duty, breach of contract, conspiracy, conversion, and/or unjust enrichment, and $500,000 each for aggravated or punitive damages.
They have to prove the damages they're seeking in front of a court. So a judge has to accept, first of all, that the defendants broke some law or broke some obligations owed to the employer. And second, that the amounts the union claims are owed are in fact the correct amounts.
The court document also says Thomas and Almeida caused the union to pay them significant non-salary compensation and cash payouts for working weekends or stat holidays in the sums of roughly $400,000 or $280,000 respectively.
I'm really looking forward to the union using this opportunity to rebuild their relationship with the rank and file.
In her letter to union members, President J.P. Hornick said the news is troubling, but says that sunlight is the best disinfectant, calling the lawsuit just a first step. CBC Toronto was not able to reach any of the defendants named in the lawsuit for comment. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first check on your forecast. Colette, I think I speak for most people when I say it was so nice to see that sunshine on the weekend and today. It's really been a while.
It sure has. Basically, we've had all that cloud cover during daylight hours, or a good chunk of it, all the way back to right before Christmas when we had that storm system move in. So I hope you got your dose, because now we've got changes for most of the rest of the work week, including the system moving in overnight tonight. So that freezing rain risk, now this is primarily after midnight. It started as some light showers earlier this evening in southwestern Ontario, but system continues to track in. And what we'll find is that even though the temperature kind of dipped this evening, really through the overnight it starts to come back up and settling there right around freezing. And it's just not only about the temperatures at the surface, but it's the temperature profile when you get some warmer air over cooler air at the surface. So really this is posing the problem. Freezing rain, tomorrow morning's commute likely impacted close to the lakeshore. You may be a little bit better as it'll be rain showers, but otherwise it's a mix. And then some slick roadways, especially some of the overpasses, those can freeze first, or on bridges as well. Then what happens is the temperature keeps coming up. It changes over to some rain showers, not a lot to this, 5 to 10 or 12 millimeters pushes through. But you know what? There's going to be another system to come a little later this week. I'm going to talk more about that coming up a bit later in the show and give you a little closer look at that freezing rain risk and how much ice accretion we could see. But tonight, with that temperature coming up and hovering right there around zero, and then tomorrow it keeps coming up. So a mild day in store, and that changes it over to rain showers or drizzle. But still, we have to contend with a slow morning commute and could be dangerous, so we need to be careful.
Thanks so much, Colette. The Transportation Safety Board is investigating what caused a small plane to crash land on a Markham road this afternoon. 16th Avenue near Buttonville Airport is now fully reopened after a small Slingsby T-67C came to a stop on the road around noon today. 2 people were on board the plane at the time, but thankfully no one on the road or in the air was injured. The plane was slated for landing at Buttonville. The aircraft suffered just minor damage in the accident, and no cars on the roadway were damaged in the incident. It did cause traffic backup for hours in the area, though. Police managed to clear the accident and reopen roads after about 3 hours. Police are asking for the public's help in identifying 2 suspects wanted in an arson investigation. Earlier this month, a Scarborough company's trucks were set on fire, and it was all caught on security camera. Greg Ross caught up with the owners today, who say they fear for their safety.
This is what is left of Vista Tree Management's company trucks. The owners say they believe they were the target of arson.
2, maybe 3 people, but it looks like 2 get out of it. Then they proceed to break the windows of the vehicles.
It was all captured on this surveillance video from the early morning hours of January 5th. You can clearly see a white Lexus SUV pull up, and you can see someone from that SUV lighting the company trucks on fire.
You see something being lit and thrown into the vehicles, one after another.
When the owners of Vista Trees first spoke with police days after the fire, they were told there was little that could be done and that the fire didn't appear suspicious. Eventually, they showed police the video.
We've provided them, some of the footage, but we're not forensic technicians. There's a bunch more footage that they could pull, but we haven't heard back from them in over a week now.
Police have since told us they are now investigating, but would not comment any further. The owners of the company can't say for sure who would want to do something like this, but they don't believe it was one of their competitors.
Our theories about who did this is related to a bunch of street racing and stunt driving that's been happening that we've been reporting on to both the building management and police for a number of months, asking them to intervene in what was a very dangerous situation for our employees and us.
They have provided footage of street racers to police as well. But so far, the owners say no investigators have come out to talk to them. And they say at this point, they feel it's too risky for them to wait around for the outcome of this investigation.
We have no intentions of staying. We'll be getting our things out as quickly as possible. There's no way that we're going to stay here to be targeted again by the people who did this.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Warming centres for Toronto's unhoused could soon be open around the clock. Today, the Board of Health passed recommendations to help people who are experiencing homelessness get off the street in the cold winter months. Prior to today's meeting, physicians and advocates gathered outside City Hall.
These deaths are preventable. These hypothermia and freezing-related deaths are preventable. Cold-related injuries like frostbite, which can lead to permanent disfigurement, loss of life and limb, are also preventable.
After hearing from a number of speakers, the board did pass a recommendation that would keep city warming centers open 24/7 until the middle of April. Now, the city has 3 warming centers. Currently, the protocol is to open them as of 7 p.m. when there is an extreme cold weather alert. Now, that's when temperatures drop to -15. They can also be open earlier at the city's discretion. It's unclear how much keeping centers open 24/7 would cost. The recommendations will go to City Council for the final say. The latest Canadian real estate numbers show a sharp drop in both home sales and prices in December. But while sellers are finding themselves at a disadvantage, higher mortgage rates mean lower prices won't necessarily help potential home buyers. Nisha Patel explains.
Hutches and things.
Ghislaine Patenaude is looking for an upgrade.
Well, I don't know if I'm a fan of a single sink.
She sold her Saskatoon condo last month and hopes the time is right to buy a house.
I've been doing a lot of window shopping in 10 years, and it's tough out there.
While sales in the prairies have held up better than in Ontario and BC, higher mortgage rates are turning off many potential home buyers in every market.
If you're a buyer right now and you see, well, if I bought 2 years ago, my mortgage would be $500 less than if I'm buying right now. So in Saskatoon, that's huge.
But as the frenzied bidding wars have vanished, buyers who do want to jump in have more negotiating power.
You have more time to think things through. You can do your due diligence with regards to the bank and the home inspections.
Meanwhile, sellers are getting a reality check. The national average price hit about $626,000 in December, down nearly 12% from the same time the year before.
Sellers are more reasonable. They're not inflating their prices, and they are more reflective of what the market is showing their house to be.
For those who bought at the market's top and now have to sell, it may be a painful process. Take, for example, this home in Whitby, Ontario. The buyer who paid $1.4 million last January just sold for $999,000.
I think we're going to get a lot more listings on the market, and prices are going to start to more appropriately reflect the fundamentals.
Experts say prices may have further to fall, as higher mortgage rates could last through the end of the year.
Are we going to see mortgage rates turn around and see the Bank of Canada quickly cut rates? I don't think we will.
With another interest rate hike forecast for next week and talk of a recession on the horizon, the chill that's taken hold of Canada's housing market could linger well into the spring. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette joins us again now with a look at our extended forecast. And Colette, gotta watch out for some slick conditions in this morning commute with this freezing rain we'll be getting.
Yeah, such a large area. Of course, it includes the GTA, but it's a larger area than that, as we were looking at earlier in the show for the freezing rain. Beginning after midnight, likely not till we get till about 2 or 3 in the morning, but carrying on through the morning commute, and perhaps some of the worst of it from 5 or 6 a.m. through to about 8 or 9. Mixing a little more close to the lakeshore, but elsewhere that's where you could have the real chance of those very slippery roadways. The rainfall, as that temperature keeps coming up, not a lot to this, so not not much with it. But another system will be lining up with what could be a bit of a wintry mix coming our way, and that's kind of Wednesday night and then into Thursday. So here we go through the overnight hours, starting as some wet snow or mixing at times, and then pushing on to the east. And then we get some of the showers coming through, freezing rain risk, even though not in the warning, but still that chance into eastern Ontario. Some light showers kind of move on through. We get a break, and then we get more light showers. And then there's a lot of cloud cover hanging around for Wednesday, but lining up for that Wednesday evening coming our way will be the next system for this week. So ice accretion, you can see some of the areas that could be impacted, perhaps the target where we could get a few millimeters or more to the northeast of the city, but all those areas in that freezing rain warning from earlier. So that's something to watch out for. And then certainly we're looking at a busy week ahead. You probably noticed something about the daytime highs, though. We're looking at mild conditions again. That's why it's really only earlier in the day we have that freezing rain potential, because then the temperature keeps coming up. I don't think we're going to see rain all day. Into the afternoon, likely breaks in it, with just some drizzle, but keeping the cloud cover. Wednesday, drizzle hangs in. And then it is Wednesday night we get into that mix of rain, snow, and Thursday. Now, I do have it as a mix continuing on Thursday, but I think we could have some areas picking up a bit of accumulation, so I'll be watching that carefully. Let's get through System 1, and then we'll focus in on System number 2. Some lingering flurries into Friday, and then maybe, just maybe, we might get another weekend where we get some sunshine coming back at us, Gelda.
Let's hope so. Thanks so much, Colette. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Maribel Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.